So we're now moving seamlessly on to our next incredible speaker. It's James Rutter. He's Chief Creative Officer at Cook, really interesting company. And his talk is called 7 Ps of Post-Pandemic Marketing. So please don't forget to ask questions on your app, and I'll put some of these to James afterwards. Please ask questions, otherwise, well, you can just hear me asking questions, I suppose. So James, please join me on stage. Without further ado,
thank you.
Over to you.
I'm just going to pour myself some water. Right. Right, we're going to get a bit hopey-changey for the next 20 minutes. Got nothing to sell you, nothing like that. So a bit of hope and change, 20 minutes, and we're going to dive straight in. Play. How much have we missed play? You know, at work, at leisure, play is how we discover what we're capable of. And obviously the thing that inhibits play, it just means you cannot physically play, is fear. So if you just drop a tuft of cat's hair into a rat's cage, the rats literally are physically unable to play. So we've been in this fearful environment, play has been hard. But now we're coming out of it. All right, look, we're coming out of it. Play is possible again. And so, right, this is the first talk I've done for whatever it is, 15, 16 months. And pre-pandemic at Cook, we used to start every event with a little game, yeah? Just to relax into it, maybe discover what we're capable of. So, let's play a game. You game? Yeah, right, you're gonna have to stand up. Right, you're gonna need a partner. Now, I think this is, you know, be your own judge. This is safe, but I suggest that in the odd rows, you turn around and play with somebody behind you, okay? You'll have to figure it out. I'm sorry, it's an ingenuity test. Turn around, play with somebody behind you, okay? You need a partner, so it's in twos. Very simple, first stage of this game, okay? All you're gonna do in your pair is count to 3. One of you starts, says 1, the other one says 2, the other one says 3. You keep going, the other one says 1, the other one says 2, the other one says 3. Very simple, go for it. It's always so interesting how many people find this challenging. Okay, we're going to go straight to level 2. Straight to level 2. This time, instead of saying 2, you're going to pat your head. So it'll be 1, 3, 1, 3. Again, just keep going, okay? Go. Okay, next level up. Right, this time, instead of saying 1, you're going to bob down. So you'll be 3, 3, 3. Okay, go for it. Okay, last level, the full house, level 3. We'll bob down, power heads, hop in the air. There you go, that was it. That's the game. Very quick game. So good to play a game again. Love it. So the mind-expanding magic of play. And I think this is what we should all remember. This is what getting back to work's all about. You know, and the bosses, they're emphasizing the wrong thing about coming back to the office. It's not come back to the office to work. It's come back to the office to play. And we've got to remember, I think that's exactly the same for our customers, that they've been missing play too. So I'm going to end each of my Ps with a few little prompts and provocations, just in case you have a little idea to take away with you. So for play, our prompt, so how can we, in this post-pandemic world, have play at the forefront of our minds? And how can we bring play back into our work and our workplaces with real intention? And then how can we bring play to life for customers? And this idea that actually they needn't just buy from our brand, but play with us. So that real sense of playfulness. Let's bring that back. That's our first P. Right, and actually I started this talk with 3 Ps. And then I discovered the creative power of a constraint. And suddenly there were Ps galore. So I kind of plucked 7 as a number out of thin air. And there's a few bonus Ps as we go along as well. This is a P fest. And all of them, they overlap a little bit. are a bit like the petals, see what I did there, on this beautiful flower. And as we can all remember from our GCSE biology, the bit in the middle of the flower is called the pistil. Oh, yes, it is. How happy was that day when I discovered that on Google? So the pistil of our flower around which all these things revolve. People. Second P of the day. Here's some lovely Cook people in a pre-COVID time. And, you know, I think of Cook as a people brand. And we succeed or we fail on the culture we build and the relationships we have together at Cook. And I think the reality is that all any business is, at the end of the day, is a bunch of people coming together to do something that they couldn't do alone. So that's all it is. A bunch of people coming together, trying to achieve something together they couldn't do alone. And I think, you know, this is obviously all about digital and technology. And that's great, because as we kind of forge into that new world where digital can do all these wonderful things for us, we're almost leaving space for people behind that, for people to inhabit again in the way that we can inhabit best, to do the things that actually people do best rather than machines, rather than processing power. There's a great new book out by a kind of top management thinker called Gary Hamel, and it's called Humanocracy. And it's all about this idea, really. It's about kind of realizing that organizations, in his words, are just the vehicles people use to better their lives and the lives of other people they serve. So that's all it is. And I think we've become deluded that actually we're serving the God prophet. And we're not. We're just serving each other as colleagues and as customers. And so we need to rewrite that narrative and genuinely put people first. And I think as brand builders and as marketers, there's a real opportunity. You know, we can spend as much time and effort marketing inwardly as well as externally. And the great brands and businesses, they have this inner and this outer narrative that's completely aligned. You know, it's really in harmony and in tune. And when that happens, all we have to do as marketers is pluck out the right notes to play. So that's what we're looking for. And so at Cook, if you don't know Cook, we make frozen food by hand. And we have people in kitchens. You know, we call them kitchens, not factories, and they're chopping and they're dicing and they're simmering and they're boiling. And it means they make amazing food. And often people come to us, particularly this time of year, for food to cater for weddings. You know, it's that good. And so this happened a few weeks back, down in Bath. A customer went online to look for some food for her wedding. And she found this delicious looking tomato tart tatin. Great product. And she thought, oh, I'll have some of that for my vegetarian wedding guests. Promptly ordered 8 to collect from our shop. And that's when the shop manager discovered that actually we'd stopped making tomato tart tatin. Bit of a disaster. You know, distraught customer, Bridezilla on the end of the phone. And so she thought, all right, I'm going to call up our central customer care just to see what I should do. So she made the call, and our customer care team just thought, look, I'm going to chat to somebody in the kitchen just to ask them about this. And so the person they talked to in the kitchen thought, you know what, I'm going to check what the ingredients are for tomato tart tatin. So she looked up the ingredients. And it just so happened that actually all the ingredients that we needed, we already had. We're using to make other things. So she thought, oh, I wonder if we could make some more. So she had to get in touch with the people who does all the production planning for the kitchen. Can we squeeze in a batch of tomato tart tatin? And then they had to talk to the packaging and label people, because you've got to have the right packaging, the right labeling, blah, 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 all the legal requirements to get it out the door. And then they had to plan it in production, get it on logistics, down to Bath. So this, no word of a lie, this Saturday, just gone, a very happy bride in Bath served tomato tart tatin at her wedding. Now that, for me, is what putting people first is all about. That's what a people brand is. And if you think about it, in that whole chain, nobody asked for permission. I genuinely didn't know about it until somebody copied me in on an email by mistake. You know, that was dozens of people trying to do something for a customer. You know, people working together to better the life of somebody else. That is the genuine power of people in marketing. So a few prompts and provocations. What would putting people first look like for your organization? What would putting people first look like? What would you need to do to turn everybody into a brand ambassador, every single person who works for your company? And if they all were, what would you then do differently? Right, on to the third P. Now, purpose. I was really reticent about including purpose because I feel like we've kind of reached peak purpose. Every consultant out there is talking about it. It's like, oh, geez. But then I came across this research, a big bit of customer research in the States that talked about how actually the millennials have been behind the push to make brands purposeful. But now Gen Z, again, I can just about bring myself to say Z rather than Z. Gen Z were all about proof. They want proof, deeds, not words. So how can we make sure we're delivering impact? Bear with me, bear with me. And there's loads of graphics out there about purpose. Over the years, this is the best one I've come across. I love this because it's so grounded. It's by a Canadian agency called Purpose Inc. And what I love about it is that business fit bit at the top. So purpose has got to have this vested interest to solve a social issue. The power of purpose isn't about just going out and doing good shit. There's loads of charities out there doing wonderful work. The power of purposeful business is how can you solve social or environmental problems profitably. That's the impact potential. You're bringing something to it beyond just money. And then when that overlaps with your audience's vested interest, remember those other people out there, that's when you get real power. And so proof of purpose can definitely drive business performance. This is a chart, 3 charts I've got you. They all do what all good charts should do. They go up and to the right. Here's the first one. This is about B Corps, socially responsible businesses in the States, in the consumer category, how they outperformed their peers over 4 years. This is one from just last year, actually. This is about in Europe, how B Corps receive much more positive sentiment on social media, etc., than their peers. Just that buzz, that positive sentiment. Third one, this is a lovely little chart from Cook, and this shows how our sales over the years have gone up kind of hand in hand with our big proof of purpose milestone. So down here we've got becoming a best company to work for, certifying as a B Corp, the living wage, animal welfare, solar power. These things can grow hand in hand with purpose. Now, all that said, I genuinely believe brands don't have purpose, people do. And therefore our challenge is how do we make people really witness their impact and develop their own personal purpose story. And so a few years ago at Cook, we came up with this idea called a care card. Now, care is one of our core values. We call them essential ingredients. And all this card did, it was a 30% off everything for a year. And we gave 2 cards to every single person who works in our shops. We've got 90 shops up and down the country. And they could do whatever they liked with those cards, give them to whoever they wanted to. The only guidance was that it had to be someone who they felt would really benefit from our food during a time of real need. So maybe it was a medical issue, maybe it was bereavement. A time of real need, they could give away one of those care cards. And we got an email in from a customer about this. And he said he'd been into one of our shops, I think it was in Saffron Walden, and he rushed in, bought a load of food, some family meals, some kids' meals, got to the till and said, oh, can I just leave it and come and collect it later because I've got to take my wife to the hospital for a chemotherapy appointment. Of course, the staff said, yeah, absolutely. 2 hours later, he came back to the shop, went to collect his food, and they handed over one of our care cards and said, here, have this. And he said he literally had to run out of the shop because he was so overcome with emotion, he didn't want to burst into tears. And his point in this email, he said, it wasn't that I needed the money. I can actually afford the food. It was that somebody had seen me in a time of real need and responded to my need. And that real human connection, that real power of that moment, that's what witnessing your impact looks like if you're that person behind the till. That's what a purpose story feels like if you're somebody working for a company. So your prompts and provocations. So what proof of purpose can you offer your customers? How are you measuring and communicating your impact? And what might help your people witness their own impact and develop their own purpose stories? Right, so when the pandemic broke last March, we got together and we decided to send out an email to all our customers. And we said, look, if you're looking out for a neighbor, because remember in that first time the government was telling people to isolate if they're old or vulnerable. If you're looking out for somebody, just tell us at the till point and we'll give you a few meals to take for them for free. Wonderful. But then obviously lockdown arrived, nobody was coming to shops. And so instead we went out with another email to customers saying, look, if you know a local charity or a volunteer group who can get our food into the hands of people who really need it, just let us know. They have to come and collect it from the shop, but let us know. And so we did that. And over the next year, we managed to give away through our kindness fund about 200,000 meals, worked with about 200 groups locally around the country. Now, the great thing about that for me wasn't the giving. It was the participation. The fact that actually the only way we could do it was by involving our customers in what we wanted to do. We weren't parachuting in to solve a problem. We were asking them for help. And so this image is from Punch Drunk, another P. That's the great theatre group, immersive theatre. They know all about participation, how it works. And again, this idea, all credit to New Citizenship Project, because participation really comes from them, because they've come up with this thought that like consumerism's dead. You know, the great ideology of the 20th century kaput, that all we need to do to progress as people is buy more shit. And instead, actually, what we need to do is stand up as citizens, take more agency, and start not only to buy and support businesses and brands we like, but really buy into them, you know, to participate in what they do. It's like great Chinese problem. Tell me and I'll forget, show me I might remember, involve me and I'll understand. So how can we start to involve our customers in what we're trying to achieve? Not just buying our product, but more intimately. I missed that one. And this is what we're looking for. So going from consumers to citizens, product to relationship, buying from to buying into. How might you make that shift? Right, place. So this is the queue to my village shop last summer. And that shop I'd only been to once, I think, in 2 years. I've now been to, I don't know, 50 times. And I think we've all, out of necessity, had to explore our neighborhoods, our communities, and hopefully got a closer attachment to them. And I think that could be a real positive out of this, that sense of place. And at the same time, obviously, we've got that sense of our global place. And we feel like we're at a watershed for that. So how can we really start to capture that in what we do? And the best phrase I've come across recently is how can we win for customers when it comes to tackling, if you like, our planetary challenges? What wins can we put in there? And that, looping back a bit to proof of purpose, brings into line this greenwashing challenge. You know, the greenwash, purpose wash, whatever it is. We need pig, not bull. Another one of our values, Churchill's pigs. As Churchill said, you know, a cat looks down on you, a dog looks up to you, but a pig looks you in the eyes and sees its equal. And so it's how can we bring that sense of equality to all our comms, to all our marketing? Customers are our equals. We need to be honest, radically transparent. A bit like Punch Drunk, take down that fourth wall and really involve customers in what we're doing. Poetry, last P, seventh P. This is the only book I know of that's about poetry and business. It's a great book. And David White's a poet, and he says it's all about the preservation of the soul at work. And I don't think you need to be religious to kind of get a sense of what that means. This line from Seamus Heaney, the way we're living, timorous or bold, will have been our life. And I think this is a moment now for us all to be bold. You know, boldness almost comes with the territory. If we're going to go out into this new world, this changed world, and be timid, what's the point? Stay at home, draw the curtains, you know, watch Love Island. So how can we be bold in our marketing? How can we be bold by making and keeping bigger promises? Bigger promises that help us really ignite the passion of customers. Bonus P, passion. My favorite email of last year from Giovanna. She said, your business ethos is an example of the world I want my daughter to grow up in. You can't get better than that. Passionate customers, that's what we all want. One more bonus P, as we're going there. Prophecy. Let's end with a prophecy. From the Hopi Nation, American Native peoples in Arizona, it's time to speak your truth, create your community, be good to each other. We are the ones we've been waiting for. So what if we're the ones we've been waiting for? Just keep that in mind. There's our 7 Ps. There's our wonderful flower with its pistil. So let's go out into the post-pandemic world and do marketing that's playful, that's people first, that's purposeful, and of which we can all be truly proud. Thank you. Have a great day.
James, thank you so much, James. Amazing presentation. We've got no real time for questions. Lots of questions coming in. One here from Claire I want to put to you before you go. It's loved the example of the tartatan at a wedding. But is this sort of thing really scalable?
So we're at a Digi conference, so my favourite little quote from Paul Graham of Y Combinator, because I assume all these digital people know who he is is that he says when he sees brands and businesses at Y Combinator, he says to them, do things that don't scale. Everybody can scale, the scaling stuff, leave it to Google, leave it to Amazon. We're all obsessed with scale. Let's obsess about doing things that don't scale, because that's where you get the difference. That's where you make success.
I love that point of view. James, thank you so much. We're out of time, but great talk. Thank you so much.